Oi, Ashito, how's it feel not having as many views as Haikyuu, you cat? Must suck to live in Haikyuu's shadow, eh?
Aoashi is shaping up to be an incredible sports anime, and it seems that Production IG is once again working their magic. But only one thing. It seems that no one's talking about it. So, let's talk about it. Personally, if there's one anime genre that I've always dismissed, it would have to be sports. Sports are usually something that ranks pretty low in my entertainment tier list, so why would I want to watch a sports anime of all things? Also, it's not helped by the fact that this was my first encounter with the genre. But every now and again, a show comes in and changes your preconceived notions of what a genre is and can be. And naturally, that show is a subject of this video. That show is Haikyuu.
Nande?
All jokes aside, I will get back to Aoashi, I promise. The first time that I encountered Haikyuu was through this 2020 US election meme. I knew nothing about these characters, the stakes of this match, and almost nothing about volleyball. But even in this out-of-context meme, I could get a sense for what it took for these players to get here and what it meant to them. And this shot right here just sealed the deal. Chills. Literal chills, guys. And this was just the clip, so I knew in context, this moment would hit even harder. I do want to give Haikyuu its own video one day, but for now, TLDR, I watched it, loved it, and now I even watch volleyball on occasion. Side note, if this video seems a little scuffed, yeah, it is because I was busy watching Volleyball Nations 2022. Yeah, my bad. And of course, because this is the anime community, it begs the question, is Aoashi better than Haikyuu? Well, they're similar shows, but I feel like they're aiming for completely different goals is the cop-out answer I would have given you, but if I had to shoot from the hip and give you one right now, I'd say, not yet. I'll admit that my floor for what I consider a good sports anime to be is probably really skewed, but if the story keeps going the way I think it's going, then it can definitely go down as one of the genre's greats. I came into the show not knowing what to expect. Football just isn't a sport that I'm all that interested in.
Did you see that ludicrous display last night?
Your interest in the show will largely depend on how much you vibe with how much of the nitty-gritty of youth football the show explores. For my part, I binge-watched this on the treadmill, so because I was so locked in, my tolerance for a slower pace was much greater. Your mileage may vary. Literally. Now, who I didn't have much patience for at all was, Ashito himself. Kind of a problem when it's the main character. At the start, I was very much mildly annoyed with him. He was loud, brash, and didn't seem to have a knack for team play in a game that demanded it. In terms of individual skill, while he was far from hopeless, he was also far away from being anywhere near where he wanted to be. It can be easy to dismiss him as just another loud, annoying shonen protagonist, when he kind of is, but I feel if you make some connections between his motivations and behaviors, it becomes a lot easier to tolerate these outbursts. Whenever he speaks up about being a genius or once-in-a-lifetime talent like X footballer, it honestly really feels like a coping mechanism to me. Ashito has mentally locked himself into a situation where he needs to become one of the all-time greats. Because as we know, he swore to his mother that he'd pay it all back one day. Now, that's a hell of a spot to put yourself as a 14-year-old boy. So it's understandable why you would want some of that sweet copium. Then there's his ball-hogging tendencies. While sharing the ball might sound like generic school teacher talk to get the kids to play nice, it's also a tactical necessity at any level of any team game. Then there's Ashito. He's really eager to get the ball to score because that was his middle school's only tactic. Pretty much none of his teammates could score, so he kind of became their default. The blinders he put on himself weren't necessarily out of selfishness. Really, quite the opposite. He wanted to be the best forward he could because of how much his friends gave up just so he could play football. But unfortunately, Asari and Kuroda didn't really see it that way. That said, Ashito's lack of tactical knowledge is actually one of the most fun aspects of the show. Aoashi doesn't give you all the answers right away. And I found this incredibly frustrating at first, because I know all about football. But this also allowed me to share in Ashito's frustrations. And it makes it all the more rewarding when we find out what the hell a shuffle is. Seriously, I had to go look this up, I had no freaking clue. Now, Hinata was just as clueless, but he had his teammates to help him out. So why don't Ashito's? Well, this is where one of the key differences between Aoashi and Haikyuu lies. First of all, there is no Kageyama-like character spoon-feeding him passes so that he can score. Second off, Tokyo Esperion isn't a high school team. This is a team that's developing talent bound for the J-League. They're all competing for a chance to move up. There's simply no time to worry about stragglers. As for how this matters to Ashito, he's starting well behind his peers. Fundamental skills and tactics that they've been drilling for years and years, he struggles with. Also, he's occupying a spot that one of their comrades could have had. This further fuels resentment towards him and turns up the pressure to 11. At times, it borders on soul-crushing for Ashito specifically, especially given how far he's moved and his family's situation. This is what makes it all the more rewarding when Ashito does get his wins. We aren't just rooting for him, we're rooting for his entire support system. Using a development league as its setting doesn't automatically make Aoashi a great show on its own, but it's the execution and how it portrays the stakes is why this is shaping up to be one of the most interesting sports series to me, and I really can't find a lot to criticize.
I will murder you if you don't play football correctly.
Oh, right. That.
Yeah, if Akatsuki could shut up for 5 minutes, that would be swell.
But really, his behavior is so over the top and cartoonishly evil that it almost breaks my immersion with the show. Sure, some players are egomaniacs, there's no getting around that. But I don't think it's to the point where literal assault and battery are involved. And by now, I'm sure there's some manga readers in the comments assuring me that he improves and there's development coming along with a backstory maybe. And I do hope they're right, because to me, this is the most glaring flaw in the show right now, and it is fixable.
You know, I feel like there's one more anime I should be comparing this to.
Sorry, were you talking about me?
Excuse me, how long have you been there?
For about 3 hours now.
Okay, maybe just say hello next time because that's really, really creepy. Aside from that, that does give me a good segue to my next talking point.
Kuroko no Basket was my second sports anime, and I'd say it was almost a complete 180 from what Haikyuu was doing. Haikyuu was notable in its extremely realistic portrayal of volleyball, and then there's Kuroko no Basket.
Excuse me, they're playing basketball, right?
If there was one thing that was a complete culture shock, it was the Generation of Miracles. While it certainly did do a lot to help shake things up, I couldn't help but miss a more grounded approach. What athletes are capable of is incredible in and of itself, and I don't think it needs much exaggeration. Still, considering my introduction to the entire genre, it was kind of a nice middle ground. When Ashito's Eagle Eye came up, I was a little bit concerned, because I just really didn't want another superpower sports anime. Thankfully though, the Eagle Eye is one of the few abilities that is remotely somewhat feasible because some footballers do have this insane spatial awareness and it enables them to create insane passes. Something that the show does go out of its way to point out. Although it looks a lot less exciting in real life. Sorry, no coin metaphor here. For all of these reasons, I thoroughly believe that Aoashi is creating a really strong case for itself as a great sports anime, and one that I'll definitely be keeping an eye on. Now if we could only get a decent hockey anime.